Welcome. After the two very successful, exciting day, we now head into the third and the final day of the DefSAT 2025. And I promise it to be equally rather more exciting and action-packed. I, Shri Deva, have a privilege again to welcome you all at the day 3 of the DefSAT 2025, which is an intellectual symphony aimed at furthering potential of disruptive space technology to enhance defense capabilities. Engaging defense and industry experts, government officials, investors, academicians, and scientists centered around the theme, integrated space capabilities in multi-domain warfare. We have a very exciting action-packed activity involved, which involves the tabletop exercise in SpaceX 3.0, which is scheduled today at 14:15 hours. The exercise is based on contest between two national spacefaring adversaries claiming superiority. The exercise for training purposes, and which we have the green and the orange space forces. The examples from the current, ongoing and recent conflicts will be welcomed as all the members present will be the participant. It's indeed my honor to welcome Lieutenant General Vinod G. Khandare, PVSM, AVSM, SM, Principal Advisor to Ministry of Defence, here on the dais. Dr. Subba, President SIA-India, and Shri Anil Prakash, Director General, SIA-India, on the dais. I request everyone to kindly rise for the national anthem.
Jana mana adhinayaka jaya he Bharat bhagya vidhata Punjab Sindh Gujarat Maratha Dravida Utkala Vanga Vindhya Himachala Yamuna Ganga Ujjala Jaladhi Taranga तव शुभ नामे जागे तव शुभ आशीष मांगे गाहे तव जय गाथा जन गण मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे.
So we begin the program by praying to the Almighty with all our gratitude and humbleness with the lighting of the lamp. May request our dignitaries to kindly light the lamp. lighting of lamp and invocation to the ways of knowledge, constantly active to the medium of flame of the lamp to dispel all the darkness. It's time for the felicitation of our dignitary here. May I request Dr. Subba, President SIA-India, to kindly felicitate Lieutenant General Vinod Khandare, PVSM, AVSM, SM, Principal Advisor to Ministry of Defence. Dr. Subba, he's a technologist and entrepreneur with an extensive experience in Indian space program for over 4 decades. He's one of those early pioneers of private industry in high technology areas. May I request Dr. Subba, the President of SIA-India, to kindly present his welcome address.
I'm glad on the third day in the morning, half of the hall is full. So that means as you go along, I'm sure that, the full hall will be filled full. Namaskar and good morning. It is my privilege to welcome you all to the final DefSAT 2025, final day of the DefSAT. As we gather here this morning, I am reminded of the insightful words shared yesterday by Lieutenant General Gurmeet Singh. Quote, India's commitment goes beyond developing satellite technology. It is focused on building a self-reliant ecosystem. That's what, kind of clarion call General Gurmeet Singh said yesterday. This sentiment perfectly captures the essence of our deliberations over the last 2 days and sets the stage for today's proceedings. The government's strategic initiatives are reinforcing this vision. And I'm sure General Khandare Sahab will explain more about the government initiatives from that side, what's going to be the kind of ecosystem they're going to create for the entire space ecosystem in the country, particularly with reference to defense. India plans to expand its military satellite capabilities significantly, targeting around 100 military satellites by 2030. That's a significant growth. And this expansion is essential for ensuring robust communication and surveillance capabilities to safeguard national interests. Furthermore, with the 25,000 crores allocated for the defense space sector, particularly in the investments that's made into space sector for the fiscal year 24 and 25, India is making an unprecedented commitment to the defense space domain, thus ensuring robust and resilient system. In the past 2 days, we have explored an array of critical thematics, and we discussed multi-domain operations and mosaic warfare. In fact, every session was very, very engrossing, and it was ably conducted by all the participants in that. I also discussed about the space usage technologies, both for land and also maritime security, encryption technologies for securing satellite communication, and offensive and defensive cyber capabilities. In fact, many more that we discussed on that. These conversations have underlined the importance of extending space-based capabilities, not only for our defense forces, but also for paramilitary and homeland security, because homeland security is showing a lot of importance on this. Interacting with the industry leaders and emerging startups at this event has reaffirmed my belief in India's immense potential. The vision of Atmanirbhar Bharat is no longer just a dream, it's a reality in motion. India now possesses the space technological capabilities that can enhance our national security and elevate us to global leadership, Vishwaguru, in space innovation. ISRO's ambitious plans, including the upcoming launch of the Indo-US this was satellite which was produced called NISAR, further emphasize India's role as a key player in space global collaborations. These milestones highlight how a whole nation approach, one that embraces the private sector and participation with the governmental sector in this, and thus paving way for India's to achieve strategic autonomy in the defense space domain. Today, we step into the concluding chapter of DefSAT 2025. The focus will shift to harnessing space capabilities for aerospace operations and the critical role of sensors, subsystems, and payloads in space applications. The centerpiece of today's discussion is the tabletop exercise. In fact, that's a very, very innovative one, which was General Ponnu and General Khandare. I think kind of Jugalbandi, they're going to be conducting that. That is India Space X 3.0. In fact, we had it for earlier 2 sessions also, the defects here. And this is a kind of a simulation exercise that has evolved through various iterations, focusing on addressing real-world space security challenges by bringing together defense practitioners and industry leaders together into this. Today, we will engage its scenarios and various scenarios that simulate potential threats to space assets. In fact, in this regard, there were also a few sessions came up yesterday's meeting in which they mentioned about the kind of system that the government should create in this regard. I think some recommendations will go from DefSAT in this regard. And I'm sure that government also will take care of this part of it. And ISR is becoming the important. That part is discussed enough on that. And by fostering collaboration between the military and civilian sectors and in Space X 3.0, in fact, we're going to patent this. And the first of its kind in the country that this kind of exercise the simulation is being discussed and happening on that. So we'll be patenting this also for SIA. And by fostering collaboration between military and civilian sectors, the In-Space X 3.0 aims to identify capabilities, gaps, and drive innovation, ultimately strengthening India's strategic posture in space and ensuring national security in an area where space is critical enabling for defense operations. As we move forward, let us remember that our conversations must translate into actionable steps. DefSAT 2025 is not just about a dialogue. It is about shaping shared vision for a secure, resilient, and technologically advanced future. Lastly, I would like to say we are in an era where space is a very strategic frontier. Technology becomes our greatest ally in safeguarding national interests and advancing global leadership. We look forward to hear from General Khandare ji and participate. I expect all of you to participate effectively into the simulation tabletop war game. Thank you and namaskar.
Thank you, Dr. Rao. Lieutenant General V.G. Khandare was a former military advisor to National Security Council Secretariat. He retired on October 2021 on completion of his 3-year tenure. Prior to that, he was the Director General, Defense Intelligence Agency and Deputy Chief of Integrated Defense Staff handling Tri-Service Intelligence till January 2018. He has a vast experience of 4 decades in handling military affairs and has been involved in advising the apex level on decision-making based on analysis and assessments impacting national interest. He has been awarded 2 medals by the President of India for his distinguished services, PVSM and AVSM. He is a recipient of the Gallantry Award in Operations, SINA Medal. He was also awarded the UN Medal for his service in El Salvador. He has been the Chief Instructor in Lesotho. May I request General Khandare to kindly present his special address on this August occasion.
Thank you. This is not for you. Come.
Thank you.
Jai Hind. Good morning to all of you, especially friends from foreign countries who are here. Your presence here encourages us to see friends from all over the globe. Right in the beginning, I would request your indulgence. At times, I may switch over to Hindi. So it is not bad manners, but I would like to connect with my people in the language because Atmanirbharta comes from Hindi. So please pardon me for that. And starting on a very optimistic note, Dr. Subba Rao, on this English morning, he said the hall is half full. He didn't say half empty, which the media would have said. More importantly, this is a kind of a gathering which is gender agnostic, age agnostic. Specifically, I am trying to mention this. Dr. Subba Rao just mentioned he is 74 years old. Is there anybody elder to that? The ladies won't raise their hand, I know that. And I think the youngest must be Shikha here. Right? Yeah. So, we are all here in a journey for making India capable to be contemporary to the world. And space is one of the drivers in that. Now, Dr. Subba Rao mentioned that I would be explaining to you how the government looks at it, and that's exactly why I'm here. Although Marshal Chopra is here, and it's always a pleasure to talk in front of you, sir. Blessed to have you here, sir. There are experts here. If you look around in the hall, AVM Bedi is here, General Brar is here, Sudhir Saab is here, Shastri ji is here. You look at people around, they're all contributors. They've all done so much. And what does it mean? We have our expectations from the veterans. And if you actually count the number of serious veterans in this hall or in this gathering, may not be here today, but you'll have thousands of years of experience piled up together. So then why should we not create a customized model? Why should we not create customized designs for the system that we need for Atmanirbharta? And why am I saying this? The geopolitics as existing, not today, but for centuries together, is never going to allow a weak nation to last. Boundaries will change, geographies will change, history will change. And that is the reason that in the element of Shakti or power, which nobody has to teach us, we have to become strong. And this is the new domain. And when we are talking about this as a new domain, for the West, this domain was always existing. Now we are trying to define that this is a new domain. I think we are far late. We need to catch up and catch up fast. Now the government has done many significant changes. One particular date for defense space, and specifically this is DefSAT, one particular date should never be forgotten, that is 11th October 2021. When the Prime Minister post-COVID went public on a video call and he had 10 startups and he said ISRO is to focus on strategic projects like Chandrayaan, Mangalyaan and open up enough opportunities to the private sector for defense sector. Sudhir ji, you were there and we both were at that time handling those things. In fact, Mr. Shastri, Dr. Shastri was the first person who handled DSP. We better understand what these people have done and we better take their services to chart out certain measures which are required for the government to bring in user-friendly policies. Policies are made based on certain parameters. Then policies have to be revisited. Every time you revisit a policy, there will be certain good changes which will come up because the direction is known. You need to accelerate the momentum because the world has already galloped far ahead. We need to do that user-friendly policies. Now again, we are quite focused on what we need in space. But what is the ecosystem around that space which needs to be brought out? Is that only the responsibility of one particular ministry? Is it the responsibility only of the public sector? Is it the responsibility only of Ministry of Defense? And this is where I want to suggest to you that look around. What is it that you want the government to do to help you? Now, yesterday the session which I was chairing, in which we were talking of funding. Now here we are absolutely binary, user and person who's giving money. What about the rest? I know the pain which the startups and the MSMEs go through. And as a user, there are certain norms which have to be followed. So if there is an event which is being organized by a command or by somebody, and General Brar has been one of the person in the forefront leading this initiative. At that point in time, I do realize that startups and MSCs, actually they come up and tell me, sir, every time we move and we move the equipment, it takes lakhs of rupees to move that equipment. And people like us who have been in uniform or who are in uniform normally would say, ये demonstration Suratgarh mein hoga. Imagine the amount of money and imagine the logistic problems that that person is going to face. Suratgarh may not even have the kind of accommodation which is meant for everyone. And policy does not permit armed forces from giving them this logistic support. Now, this is the kind of policy change which is required. We are all saying that banks have to bring out certain changes in their approach towards lending money to startups. They ask the startup for a collateral. I think a startup can only show them the passbook, if you may, with a student loan in that. So what exactly is the collateral that we are looking at? Maybe after this event, and most of my suggestions, sir, is with the aim that they should come from the association. In addition to that, the government normally would be amenable to suggestions which come from think tanks like what M. Ashil Chopra headed, and after every particular event he used to send a small document, not very bulky, and then we used to look at it as to how it is done, because then there is no accusation of a conflict of interest in that. So we must also understand how the government functions, and towards that one normal suggestion always comes is that a new sector like cyber, or a new sector like space, or a new sector like chemical, biological or information space, whatever equipment we need should be exempted from GST, and which always the finance ministry turns down. But small changes can be made. अगर इलेक्शन के पहले बोला जा सकता है कि आपको बस फ्री मिलेगी और आपको बिजली फ्री मिलेगी, तो स्टार्टअप को क्यों नहीं? ये मिलना चाहिए. और ये आप अगर आप नहीं बताएंगे तो किसी के दिमाग में नहीं आएगा, किसी को ये स्वप्न भी नहीं आएगा कि इस तरह से कोई चेंज किया जा सकता है. I will give you a small anecdote which I had heard. Is there anyone in this hall who's not heard of Narayan Murthy? Narayan Murthy struggled to get funding. He was asking a banker to meet him and get some funds, and that banker would refuse. And this is pre-80, and that is the time when nobody knew what is a computer and nobody knew how to get into software. Finally, after months of wait, when the banker said, okay, I'll meet you at 8 o'clock in the morning, that day, Sudha Murthy and their daughter, who happened to be the first lady in UK, they both were very sick. Now, Narayan Murthy had only two options: leave them alone, go and meet the banker, or cancel the appointment of the banker. He found the third way, and this is an advice for the startups. He said, my wife can take medicine and relax, but my daughter will not be able to do it. So that sick daughter was taken by him along with him, and he was sitting in front of the banker and patting the daughter. That got him the funding. So you've got to think out of the box. It's not that he stage managed it, but it was from his heart. The banker was a good human being, which most of us are. And not only did he give him the money, he got him introduced to investors, and that is where the thing started. So when we read something, we must derive lessons for ourselves. And unless we derive lessons for ourselves, then it is just plain taking a degree with CGPA 9 point something and not getting a job. So So we have to correlate with that. Now this is one point which I wanted to mention for the startups. Now I have certain points for the services also, although not many in uniform are here, but obviously we have to start looking at. Yesterday after my session, I rushed back to MOD because we were having a brainstorming session with the Defense Secretary and the DG Acquisition towards Atmanirbharta, how we need to push it further and what are the drawbacks in that, in the policy. Very clearly, how do we identify the indigenization content? IC. How do we identify? By cost, by component? Who's going to decide that? How are we going to adopt standards? क्या हम विदेश के स्टैंडर्ड ही अपनाएंगे या हम अपने स्टैंडर्ड भी लिखने के लिए काबिल हैं? You look at space, you look at drones, you look at any of this industry, you'll find the amount of data that you are generating is humongous. After that data also, we are still not able to generate our own standards. Why? Why should we not generate our own standards? A small example which will bring some light to you. When the armed forces have trials, like in drones, Meher Baba competition, Air Force did, what a brilliant idea. They went for Meher Baba competition. The entire data was captured about the endurance, about the ceiling, about the kind of efficiency of the sensors. Now recently the army had a similar thing in Ladakh. Where else in the world does anyone fly drones at 14 and 16,000? And you have that data. All you got to do is, again, this is an idea for the startups to get into the field of data. Unless you draw the parallel that in India today the benchmark is we can fly at 16,000. Similarly, if you look at space, the amount of work that we are doing and the amount of data that we are churning out is massive. But who's going to make use of that data? So somebody has to sit down and start saying that, okay, in India we have reached a level where the resolution, the revisit, all these factors which we otherwise start looking at, or the durability of it, whether it is ISR, whether it is PNT, whether it is SSA, anything for that matter, we can lay down our own standards because that will be our indigenous standard. The next issue is regarding certification. Why is it that we are all in a particular queue and your turn comes after 2 years or 3 years? By that time the technology is gone or something new is coming. There was a generation, whether of Dr. Subba, Marshal Chopra or mine, we started our service with one technology, we finished with one technology. Now it's changing every 18 months. Unless you keep pace with that and unless you bring in processes to change how that queue has to be reduced in the certification. So for that, again, the point is it is a huge investment involved. And this is a particular area where either the private sector or the government are the only two big players who can do that. So take away the pressure of other financial things from the government and let them invest in this. I think that will be a better measure rather than asking for small freebies somewhere. That may not work out together. And such a model will help. The other point is who will certify whether it is truly indigenous or whether it is white labeled. Again, that part after this conference, we must bring out very clearly that there are certain critical components which cannot be manufactured in India and let's accept it. And that should be one part of the foreign content. We all know that it is a challenge to get all the parts, especially say for example sensors or semiconductors. We have a challenge. So till such time that industry comes, we should accept. So that should be a definition of the indigenized content. So IC content should be very clearly given. So the way we are issuing from the MOD the list of positive list that this capability exists in India. So we should very clearly say that these are the critical components and these critical components, even percentage wise, we should be able to accept, and that should not become a reason to disqualify somebody. But yes, if somebody is deliberately doing something wrong, then that should be very much a reason to disqualify that. So that is another suggestion that can be brought out, sir. Now, as a user, now space is a domain which provides users or the capability in the civil as well as in the security sector. So far, the armed forces, when something is being done whether by ISRO or by DSA or not so much by DSA as of now, DSP probably, and DRDO. So armed forces normally would nominate a project management team. Why project management? Why not from the designing stage? You look at what other countries have done, and this is what you should look at other countries for their good practices. Whether you look at China, whether you look at USA, most of the designing, the users are involved right from the word go. So if you are involved in that designing now, somebody will say, sir, this is not my job, I am not qualified, then you better get qualified. You start recruiting people right from the word go who are qualified in these domains. I think just plain undergrad may not be the best idea now. So we need to change our processes there, and we need to change from project management, right? You must be into the designing stage right from there. That is my advice to the users, and those processes, they have to be done yourself. Nobody else is going to do. But yes, if the user does not do up to a particular point in time, then it will come from top. It may not be palatable. Most of the changes in the armed forces are not self-driven. At times, the major changes have to come from top. And it's a matter of observation that after some time it will happen. So it is best self-driven, and then it can be taken ahead. One more issue is about the cross-pollination between the user and the service provider. Now again, it is left to imagination. A startup is imagining that this is what the armed forces need. MSMEs also, and even big players. But in the last couple of years, I have seen that armed forces veterans are finding place in startups as mentors, in MSMEs also, and in the bigger players also, which is a very welcome idea. And if that can be done in the private sector, why not in ISRO and why not in DRDO? Somebody has to answer this. So we should again start pushing these things, because whatever is the product which is developed, designed and developed, it should have the user's view into that, the user's experience. Israel takes a lead in this, because Israel, luckily for them, they have a conscription of 3 years for boys and I think 2.5 years for girls. And the moment they come out, they know exactly what the user lacks or what the user wants. If we don't have that, we still have veterans coming out at a particular age with a particular service and experience. And we also have now short service officers also coming out. There has been a policy shift, at least in the army, I know, where earlier we were not letting them go into these specialized appointments. Now after 8 years or so, we are wanting them to go on deputation also. So there are changes, there are small changes, but these changes are good, and it is meant for the industry also to take note that they can take these officers, and they would prove to be quite useful. Because finally the nation has to develop based on what the user wants and what the designer can do it for them in India. So that is one more part. Yesterday I made a mention about the exports. And here there is a particular reason why I said that. It was in response to some comment made, but I want to amplify on that. The world order, I do not know whether it is world order, whether it is world disorder, or whether it is world reorder, but all the same there is immense amount of turbulence. And in that turbulence, while revisionist powers will want to challenge the existing supremacy of the West, but finally the sufferers are countries like India, who are on the side of none of them, because the market is the same. And if we want our startups, MSMEs or bigger industries to start exporting, you always face this problem of a particular half of the globe which is not open to you. And that is open to somebody who is a rival of the West. And then when you are struggling to export here, there are certain very odd questions which are asked. The first question asked is, are the Indian Armed Forces using it? But that question you don't ask the bigger powers. So it's an unequal world. So that is something which has to be understood, and we have to struggle for that. And as you keep getting stronger, the country will be able to now dictate terms and say that, listen, we have made it, it is very good, it is affordable, and let us get into it. And G20 is one such initiative, BRICS is another one such initiative. So we have to look at reality, and you can't always be at the mercy of the global powers. You have to become strong, you have to become independent, and that is what is meant by Atmanirbharta. Atmanirbharta does not mean that we have arrived. We are still in that journey, we have to do a lot, and Atmanirbharta will never finish. It will continue. Atmanirbharta is not meant only for the Ministry of Defence. It is meant for everyone. There are some ministries which have not adopted, they will have to adopt it, and that is how the government functions. These were few points based on my experience and what my elders have been teaching me. And why I asked the youngest and the eldest is to say that the eldest or the elders are doing enough. The youngers have to march strongly and derive maximum advantage of what is being left to you, because finally the future is yours, the future of the country is in your hands. Thank you. Jai Hind.
Thank you, General Khandare. Moving ahead, it's time for the release of the report US-India Export Control Dialogue. This report is based on the inaugural session of SIA-India's Perspective on Regulatory Issues in Strategic Market 2024 webinar series. Launched in collaboration with the Ind-US Tech Council, the webinar focused on navigating the US-India export regimes with an emphasis on defense, space, and dual-use technologies. The session was held on November 18, 2024, coincided with significant policy reforms, including liberalization in ITAR and MTCR, which are poised to strengthen US-India collaboration in defense and space sectors. The PRISM is a webinar series which aims to engage a diverse range of stakeholders, the startups, think tanks, businesses, investors, lawyers, and government officials to address the regulatory challenges surrounding export controls in key markets such as Australia, Japan, France, Germany, and US. The initiative is designed to equip India's stakeholders with a deeper understanding of global regulatory frameworks, fostering the growth of India's defense and space manufacturing sector. For the same, I also call upon Mr. Rajiv Gambhir, Deputy Director General, SIA-India, to join us on the dais. I request all our dignitaries together to kindly release the report. Thank you very much. Along with this, the release of the India-Africa Partnership in the Space Sector report. It's a testament of SIA India's commitment to establishing a strong partnership with African countries. It has also signed an MOU with the Ghana Space Science and Technology Institute. This report celebrates the enduring partnership between India and Africa, emphasizing their shared vision to leverage space technology for socio-economic development. Highlighting India's advancement in space technology and Africa's growing ambitions, the report underscores how collaborative efforts in satellite technology, Earth observation, and capacity building can address global challenges like climate change, food, security, and connectivity. With examples of successful India-Africa collaborations and strategic policy frameworks, the report showcases the transformative potential of this partnership to foster innovation, drive sustainable growth, and enhance global standing. So together, India and Africa aim to build a future that reaches for the stars while solving challenges on Earth, an example of which was the signing of MOU between SIA India and Ghana. Thank you very much. May I request Shri Anil Prakash, the Director General, SIA-India, to kindly present the vote of thanks.
Good morning, General Khandare. Thank you very much. We call him Guru. He's a guiding light for us. And I have a privilege to place a vote of thanks. First, let me also acknowledge the blessings and guidance of our veteran. कहते हैं जब कुछ अच्छा कुछ करने की ठान लो तो पूरी कायनात आपके साथ जुड़ जाती है. कायनात को तो कुछ नहीं कह सकते, लेकिन हमारे पास हमारे सीनियर्स हैं, जनरल पन्नू, जनरल अनिल चोपड़ा, जनरल बेदी, जनरल खन्ना हियर, जनरल बरार इज हियर. ऑल डिग्नेटरीज, इनकी सारी दुआएं, इनकी ब्लेसिंग, इनके एक्सपीरियंस हमारे साथ काम कर रहे हैं. तो ये हो नहीं सकता कि हम अपने रास्ते में सफल हो. सुधीर साहब भी यहाँ पर हैं, उनका बहुत अभिनय हो गया हमारे साथ हमारे काम को बढ़ाने के लिए. सो लेडीज एंड जेंटलमैन, सिया इंडिया इज द बेकन of a space industry which wanted to light up the space industry not only in India but take it forward globally. How we can reach out to global? We forging alliances with 50 more of our organization around the globe, so that we will build a bridge between business to business from space industry of India and space industry of Australia, Japan, Europe, America, and all the rest of the world. It's also a testament of SIA-India to stand forward and see something doable which is possible to handhold those countries which are lacking the space applications. So this is the beginning of starting with Africa, signing an MOU with Ghana, geospatial and space institute. We have earmarked but 4 areas to cooperation. First of all, we are handhold in terms of the building of a space application center over there, and also handhold them to do the Center for Excellence to build up. So India has got complete 360-degree space capabilities or skill capabilities, and the rest of the world is lacking one of the other. We have also have a deep space exploration capabilities. We have a launch capabilities. It means we have score hundreds out of 100. It means we have a lot more to give to the world and a lot more learned from the world, because there must be something something great which we don't have. Maybe we have some technology which need to be adopted, which needs to be collaborated, So mantra is development, co-development, co-production, and scale it up. So that's the mantra which we are learning, and we are also taking forward. So the journey which we embark through these events just not even events, it's as a summit. These summits guide us to take us forward and also look behind what we have not done, what should all be done to correct ourselves. So I think this is the next, our summit which is going to be India Space Congress, where we are going to join. The last India Space Congress was attended none other than 850 delegates from 36 countries. I'm very pleased to say that about 14 nations have been participating in the DefSAT today. Thank you very much to our foreign participants for coming all the way to attend this and also join hands with us, the collaboration, the development space which we are taking forward. Thank you very much for your kind presence. I'm really thankful to our partners. They have really stood behind us and they have supporting us all the way. And they also, you have the exhibition, the next door, which they are testament of their exhibiting their world-class, capabilities and product and services. I'm very thankful to our sporting organization, which they are really helping us a lot to reach out to those areas where we are not able to reach. I'm really thankful to my team, which all stand in, we have a very small team. I think each one is very much united with the able leadership of our Honorable President, Dr. Subba Pavuluri, and he is definitely a guiding us force for behind us, and all our staff members, our board members, really working for us to that we should do something which is good for industry. And we look for all your blessing, all your advices, and look forward for during the day deliberation. I hope you will enjoy your stay. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. So the tabletop exercise in space X 3.0, which is scheduled today at 14:15 hours today. The exercise is based on contest between two notional spacefaring adversaries claiming superiority. This exercise for the training purposes and will have green and orange space forces. The examples from current, ongoing and recent conflicts will be welcomed as all the members present will be the participant.
जनगण मन अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड उत्कल बंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उच्चल जलधि तरंगा तव शुभ नामे जागे तव शुभ आशीष मागे गाहे तव जय गाथा जनगण मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे.
Thank you very much. I request our dignitaries to kindly move for the exhibition area, the RXN area on the same floor. Also, the industry meet is happening during the networking breaks at the Zorawar Hall. Post the tea session, we'll resume here for the first session at the Shamsher Hall.